Today, I'm here with Dan, Catch 'em All Collectibles. Been on the channel many a time at this point, but I thought it would be fun this time around to play a little game. We're looking into our crystal ball today, trying to predict what the next 3 years of Pokemon might look like. I put together 3 graphs here. I was thinking if I walked up to anyone who was engaged in the Pokemon hobby right now and said, what do you think the next 3 years are going to look like? I think you ask 100 people, you'd probably get one of these graphs. The Ultra Bowl, everything's going to go up from here on out for the next 3 years. Don't see it slowing down. There's going to be no stall, no downward pressure, nothing. It's just sky high from here. There would be what I'm calling the fence sitter. That basically looks like the 2020 graph. It spikes, it comes down a bit, it stalls for a while, and then it comes back up, recoups the pricing that we lost from the 2020 boom, and then continues to go up. Or what I'm calling the Ultra Bear, which is it continues to go up a little bit, it dives straight down into the crater of the earth it's created, and then it stalls out a little while, and then it struggles to come back up to the crazy highs that we've seen so far in 2025. So I figure we can talk about each one, but I want us to give a percentage on the likelihood of each of these coming true, and then we'll talk about each one. So Dan, thank you very much for being with me for this video.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I hope that it is fun and we can do a little predictions and we don't piss anyone off.
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
I don't know how likely that will be, but we will give it a shot. Well, first, we should say a lot of times when people are making predictions about things or critical of the market, a lot of people want to understand what stake the people who are making these claims have in the market. So Dan, if you want to, most people probably know you who watch my video, but if they don't, what is your stake in the market right now? What do you stand to lose or gain if the market does any of these graphs?
Yeah, I am very invested in the market, kind of uncomfortably, or over half my net worth is in Pokemon. 7-figure inventory, 100,000 plus loose packs to feed the live streams. I'm pretty deep in Pokemon, and if it goes up a lot, I'm benefiting greatly. If it goes down a lot, I'm having painful days. None on margin, none on leverage credit. It's all fully owned outright, but still, you don't like to see the number go down, right? So
Yes.
that's my bias, that's my angle. Take all that into account when I give my answers.
Similar here, not to the same degree, but I am full-time in Pokemon. That is my sole income. I opened a store recently, and that is what I do for money. Is I either flip Pokemon on the side and make a little money, or I run a store that's purely Pokemon. So again, like Dan just said, if Pokemon goes down, I take a hit. If it goes up, I make more money. We'll go from there. Hopefully that's enough street cred to talk about this and not sound completely biased. Well, first, what we should do, talk about graph number 1, which is...
We love graph number 1.
Yes.
That is our favorite one.
The Ultra Bowl, basically what the market has been doing for the last year now-ish, pretty much up. Occasional weeks of, stagnation, but pretty much continues to go up. Dan, I figure what we can do is we can give our percentages, our likelihood of this happening, and then we can jump into why our percentages are the way that they are. So what is your percentage of likelihood of this continuing over the next 3 years?
Just for a little bit of additional clarity. Obviously, I'll try to not be too disclaimer, Dan, all that stuff, but like, is this primarily graded card prices, or is this like sets staying out above MSRP at launch, kind of those vibes? Because obviously the market's broad, diverse, all that stuff. The way that I'm going to interpret this is like me being wrong on my bet that like Prismatic will never be available for under MSRP. Destined will never be available under MSRP. That's what I would kind of like define for case 1, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, basically everything just keeps going up. It doesn't,
Yeah.
If it does kind of chill, it's only going to chill for a minute and then it's going to keep going up. It's that whole kind of, the thing that I guess we kind of meme on in Discord, when we call everything too cheap, or it doesn't have a comma, therefore it's too cheap, that type of stuff. That sort of mentality, that sort of like ultra bullish take on it.
I'm going to give it a 10% chance, and I'll let you declare your percentage, and then we can go from there and explain why. I don't know if we're going to go through all the percentages or...
No, we'll go graph by graph.
So I'm at 10%. What about you?
10%. Okay. I'm at 1%. Over the next...
You thought I was going to be lower, didn't you?
I did. It surprised me that you were... I mean, it's still pretty low, but yeah, I thought it was going to be down by where I'm at. I said 1% because there's always a chance that something happens, so I'm kind of hedging my bet. But
yeah,
I really cannot see how the market just continues to go up over the next 3 years. I think with that time horizon, people I think are already pricing in the anniversary that's coming up. I think prices are already impacted by that sort of forward thinking. And I think anniversaries tend to do well. 2016 was good. 2020, 2021 was good with, big video game releases and big booms and stuff like that. But, we're talking 2 years after that. And I feel like, you're going into a new era. Usually when we go into like brand new eras, things slow down for the first half and then they pick up. At least we've seen that over the last 2 or 3 eras at this point. So I can't see this continuing for 3 years into a new era and past the celebration of the 30th anniversary.
The biggest putting on my bull hat. I need to get a bull hat. Apparently, putting down 10 times the percentage that you did here. I think one thing that some of us might be underselling, some of us think it's like a lock, a certainty almost. So I always cautiously say what a lot of people are saying, because depending on what content you follow, like there are very different things being said. But there is a very bull case to be made. For the last couple of years, they've been printing 10 to 12 billion cards a year. I definitely believe that there's 10% or higher chance that in 5 years from now, they might be printing 30 to 50 billion cards a year or more. Like there is just an argument to be made. The hobby has that much room to grow. We might be early today. People look back longingly on like, oh, 2016, 2015, I got back in 2014. All those guys got in early. All those guys and gals got in early. We could be early today. I don't think it's like more likely than not to be the case. I think there's a lot of people out there that, oh, number one, that's almost a guarantee, 95% chance. I believe you truly would have people giving a 95% chance where I gave a 10% chance, just because I am who I am. Like certain cards like this. Like this is already, this went to 2,500 and now I want to see it's like 1,800 in a PSA 10. So even in that Ultra Bull scenario, I'm more looking at like shelves will be empty, distro won't be having anything in stock, distro won't be able to catch up, MSRP won't be met on most sets, maybe a couple sets here and there. I'm not calling for Gray Felt Hat to be $25,000. I'm not calling for like silly things like that. I think even in this Ultra Bull case, 10% chance, I think you're going to have certain cards, Burger Chews maybe falling, maybe going up more. Like it's a very wide market. So it won't just be that straight up to the right red line for every single product, if that makes sense.
You are attacked by a lot of this more than I am, especially on your live streams, this mentality. I am definitely not as exposed to it. Do they give a reason why they think so? Or is it just, no, this is it. I am fully invested. All my credit cards are maxed out. Therefore, it has to continue to go up. And, that is the only future I see for Pokemon. Because I don't really understand what could have changed. Like, even if we look at the fence sitter graph, which is basically what happened in 2020, was we saw a spike, it cooled off, and then we saw a spike again where it's now surpassed what it was in 2020. I don't understand how they could think that we are at least not going to experience that. Like, what has fundamentally changed during this boom that won't follow any other booms we've seen in the past?
I think a lot of people who would attribute greater than a 50% chance to scenario number one, which I think is like absurd to attribute a greater than 50% chance to that. Most people who would do that have been here for less than 12 months. If you got here less than 12 months ago, number one is all you've known. Like I've been here 11 years. There's a lot of people who've been here even longer than me. A lot of people who like never left. Most people, especially most people, excitedly engaging in the live streams, engaging in the TikTok reels and the Instagram shorts, or I think most of those people disproportionately, this is all they've known. So they take their 6-month, their 8-month, their 10-month history and they just broadcast it out 50 years. They don't really do the exercise of like, what does that mean price-wise for these certain items? I think at some point, and we'll find out when we talk about the other charts, I think we'll find that these things just can't go on forever. It's already been a year. It's already been a year since the thrusters have really been engaged. And in that time, again, the Gray Felt Hat PSA 10 is starting to do something like the middle one, right? And what that's going to do from there, I don't know. My main bias is towards sealed product. My main inventory is sealed product because I like it the best. I'm the most bullish on it. I have the best outlets for it, and I'm generally framing my 10% answer around like, I know that I could be wrong. We might live in a world where Destined Rivals never does come back to MSRP. Destined and Journey even might not. I think if any of them do yield, if any of them do relent, it will be ones like Journey or Black and White first. They truly might not, and I'm open to that, and it'd be really interesting. I don't know if you plan on doing like a poll with this or whatever. Maybe a poll in the comments. Let us know in the comments what you deem the most likely. It would be really cool to see.
I could go into why I don't think this is going to happen, but I think that's more of a positive case to Ultra Bear. So I will save that until we get to that chart. I think that's probably good on the Ultra Bull chart. Both of us believe that it's fairly unlikely to happen over the next 3 years for this just continue to go up without any dips. So let's move on to the fence sitter chart. It's basically what happened in 2020. We saw an initial spike in interest, a lot more people coming in, prices went up, availability is gone, they printed a lot more, X, Y, and Z, and then Scarlet and Violet came out, the market dipped, a lot of stuff was available for very cheap. Then obviously in 2025 spiked again and we're back up to 2020 prices and even beyond it. So what is your percentage likelihood that the fence sitter happens again, that it'll dip, but it will rebound and go even further beyond the prices of 2025?
I feel like it's more boring to say what I was originally going to say. So I'm going to say 85%. Maybe that's the more boring one, though. I was thinking about saying 80%. It would be 10, 80, 10. I'm going to go 85%, though, and then only a 5% for the balance, obviously, for those doing math at home.
I would say 29%.
Oh, wow.
I think it's more likely than Ultra Bull, but I'm fitting squarely in the Ultra Bear right now.
So you're super bear. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So what do you think? What makes you confident that we may see a dip, but we will surpass 2025's prices in the future?
I think this is like the most likely outcome. It's the middle one. It's the most boring one. I mean, I'm well known to sit on a fence. That looks like a nice, cozy fence to sit on. It looks pretty comfy. As I said, what is most likely to happen is the market is very broad, very diverse. We already see certain cards. Well, like this card is already doing that to some extent. And honestly, if I had to pick this card, I would go more with the third one. If I had to pick certain sealed products, I would go more with the first one. If I had to pick other sealed products, I'd go with the more the middle one. But I'm trying to be more fun. I'm trying to just put certain percentages to each one. So 85%, I think that this last 12 months of run, I know mathematically for a lot of cards, it's just not sustainable. We don't really have like absolute terms on our charts here. But some amount of a retrace, some amount of giving gains back feels quite likely. And I don't know if it needs to be like, oh, well, the third year, it definitely has to be higher than it is today. I'm kind of like, there's a lot of room in between 1 and 2 and 3, right? There's a lot of room like outside of the scope of what those three encompass. So I think the fence sitter to me reads like we might be up 10, 15% a year on certain things. We might be down 10, 15% a year on certain things. Certain things today, 3 years from now might be lower, even though that graph shows higher. Like some things will be up, some things will be down. Whereas Bullet's more like almost everything is up, but even allowing for certain things to be down a little bit. That's at least the way that I interpreted it. So 85%, it just feels like, because what could cause it too? What could cause it? The Ultra Bull requires certain things to not happen. The Ultra Bull, in my opinion, does not allow for a 40% retrace in the S&P 500, which could happen outside of the control of anyone in Pokemon, outside of the control of anyone at Pokemon Company, buying, like outside of anyone's control in the world. Like those things just happen from time to time. And if those happen, one will not happen, in my opinion. Same thing goes for crypto. Any of the major markets like that, I just don't think will allow one to happen. Whereas two, like I think a slight recession, a slight macro issue could cause that. I think there's already arguments to be made that certain markets are, gold stars are softening, ponchos are softening, gray felt hats are soft. Like there's already a decent argument to be made that we're well into fence sitter territory on certain cards, again, in the broad market that we're in. In the fence sitter one, again, which I think is substantially the most likely, I think maybe not every set, but most sets will be available, most likely all of them, under MSRP at some point. Under $100 again? Probably not. I would lead that more towards the third one. But yeah, why so low? That's shockingly low to me. 29% you said, right?
Yeah, I think the boom this time around is very different from 2020 in certain ways, and most of it with audience demographic. I think the people that are coming in or that have come in over the last year, there were a lot more people that actually cared about Pokemon coming in back in for the first time in 2020 than in 2025. I think in 2025, you have a lot more people that dipped out of 2020 after they couldn't make any money, and they're back in because the market's back up. So you have all those people coming back in. And then on top of that, you also have, I think, a lot more people in it purely to make money. People just utilizing the market as a moneymaker and not as like an actual passion or a collectible or a hobby. And that's just, I guess, a vibe that I have. I don't know how I can quantify that, but that is a vibe that I have, because I think what really kicked off 2020, in my opinion, was the Logan Paul box, the first one, which I think was a real genuine dive for a bunch of people back into Pokemon. And that kicked it off in a way that brought a lot of people who actually love Pokemon back into Pokemon, which increased the market. I don't think there was really anything to do that this time around to really trigger this. And it seems like because it's so highly manipulated and manipulatable, however you would say that, a lot of these cards, like, there's just rampant manipulation. And when that stuff starts to happen and cards are spiking and coming down within a week of each other, it feels a lot more like what we're seeing is an extended waifu boom of like 2023 or whatever that was completely manufactured, only lasted like a month and disappeared faster than it started. We're just seeing an extended version of that, in my opinion. Again, it's mostly vibes based, but that's how I'm feeling about this right now. And that's why I think that it could dip and we could go past 2025 prices again? Yeah, I mean, that's why I left 29%, but I'm more into the camp that there's like a crater burying into the earth, and then once we excavate the crater, there's going to be a large hole that we're going to have to fix before we get back to any sort of like prices above 2025. That's why I'm more leaning toward the ultra
I
rare.
have it on good authority. I know a lot of people who are going to buy it all when it goes to zero, right? As they say.
Sure, there you go. Yeah, so what do you think about that? Do you think my vibes are off? Do you think that it feels more manufactured this time? Or
Like, Logan Paul was definitely a big portion of it. There were some factors and things going on, but like the pandemic was truly and like
yeah, it helped.
immense part of what happened, because you couldn't go out to your favorite sporting events. You couldn't go on vacation. You couldn't go to these conventions. The conventions didn't really exist the way that they did. Streaming wasn't quite yet as ubiquitous as it was either. And that's one thing I'll say, like, I can unequivocally say, objectively, more people are investing than have ever invested in Pokemon. And it's kind of scary. I'm investing at a level higher than I've ever invested in Pokemon. But simultaneously, more people are ripping than ever. I made a video several weeks ago now looking at like the pop report of the Moonbreon. And when you take the math on like there's 25,000 graded and it's 1 in 2,000 packs, maybe 1 in 1,000 packs, depending on which source you go by, that's a lot of packs being ripped. That's a lot of attrition to the product. I think there's certain people out there that will say everyone's investing, everyone's hoarding, it's investors selling to investors, no one's opening this. We've opened 150,000 packs on Catch 'em All Collectibles live streams on Fanatics, on a relatively smaller live streaming platform. The way that I classify it is like the immovable object, which is the 12 billion cards a year, the mountain of print that's just out there, and then the unstoppable force is the live streams and the consumption of the packs. Which, like, they're both unprecedented. They're both at the highest levels ever, but which one relatively is higher? I don't know. I wish I knew. I think the live streaming is generally winning out, but that remains to be seen. We really need to see where it all goes. I'm just along for the ride.
I guess we could jump into graph number 3. So obviously you have a much lower percentage for this graph than I do. Wait, is your percentage for this then lower than Ultra Bowl?
5%. I almost went 10, 80,
Whoa.
10, but I went 10, 85, 5 to be a little more spicy.
That is spicy.
And mind you, I'm always painted as a bear, right? I'm always painted, oh, Dan, that guy's such a bear. He says things can go down. What's he talking about? Wait until they watch this video.
Over a 3-year time horizon, you think there's a higher likelihood of the bull case than the bear case?
It all depends on how you define it. I guess one thing I'll press you on, your ultra bear case, is that calling for 151 to like go below 10 a pack? Is that calling for like every box to go back to 90, 80, 70 bucks a box like they have been historically? That's what I deem the ultra bear.
Because I'm just thinking about it as a whole thing. Like, so many people are going to leave, prices are going to come back down, stuff's going to be readily available at Target again, booster boxes maybe under $100 again for new sets. When I created the fence sitter, like, we are so high right now that I didn't really think, that's why the bottom of the ultra bear is so much lower than the fence sitter, because when I was thinking about fence sitter, I was thinking, okay, stuff's going to go down, but it's not going to go as far as the ultra bear, obviously.
Yeah.
For ultra bear, what I was thinking was, okay, kind of like $70 booster boxes, TikTok shop, that type of stuff for new sets. Maybe not 151 or older
distro
stuff.
being opened.
Distro being
open. You call them up. You order things. You could order a pallet
Yeah.
of some set at $80 a box.
They're printing a lot. If a lot of demand leaves, then there's
possibility.
gonna be a lot of stuff available. So I guess some of that stuff was kind of what I was thinking. But basically, for ultra bear, your percentage then is 5%. 5%.
Yeah. To me, it's very possible. I think, again, like, things could stay strong, sets could be good, art could be good in Pokemon, and we could have a 40% retrace in the S&P 500 We could have recession towards like again, things outside of Pokemon's control, but also fickle consumer demand could just leave. And a lot of investors could just paper hands. When everyone wants it. And when everyone can have it, a lot less people want it. So yeah, things can turn on a dime, can turn really quickly. But again, maybe I'm interpreting the chart differently than you two, is a little bit of part of this. But I'm seeing, like, for a true ultra bear, like, there are scenarios where it goes down and it doesn't turn back up within 3 years, right? Like, it could still be flat, or it could still be headed down at the 3 year point. But I think in the next 3 years, most sets will be available under MSRP. But I think many sets will be above 250 within 2 years. And I think many sets, they might hit a 1 week, 1 month, 1 quarter window, maybe a year window where they're available under MSRP, and then they kind of like start running. I am on board with a lot of people that things won't be like back in my day, 11 years I've been in the hobby, most boxes would be widely available under 100 up until the 2 year window that they went out of print, and then they'd go to like 100, 110, 120, and they'd slowly just drift up over time. So Ultra Bear, this is like every one of the last 10 sets is available in stock at your distro. They're shipped by PFootball Pete on eBay for under 100. I think the odds of that happening in the next 3 years, very, very low. To me, Ultra Bear, this card is $500 again. Definitely could happen, but I lean towards it not. To me, Ultra Bear, and maybe I'm getting too dramatic with this. Maybe my Ultra Bear is like too dark. Sub $1,000 Moonbreon. This is like PSA 10 first Charizard going back under 200,000. This is PSA 9 first Charizard going back under 20,000. Like this is bearish. Is yours that dark, or am I going like darker with the Ultra Bear?
I think you went a bit darker than I was thinking with the Ultra Bear, because I do feel like in the fence sitter case, I don't think the market floor right now or over the next 3 years is as low as it was during 2020 when it was the booster boxes at $70 and stuff like that. So when I thought Ultra Bear, I thought of kind of going back to that, where new sets are, $70. And I was definitely not thinking like sets that are out of print going under $100 a booster box.
And I'm not saying like the last 10 sets, like the current 10 sets, because in 3 years, they're going to come out with 15 or 18 new sets, right? Probably about 18 new sets. So I'm envisioning looking at this chart, like, and again, we're part of our difference in percentages is attributed, and this is like an interesting exercise because we see the same thing, but we're interpreting it differently, and we're taking it to mean different things. I think talking through the nuance, talking through the gray area, I think this is where all the interesting conversation happens. And oftentimes, like, this amount of discourse never really happens. It's just this line, this reason, under a 3-minute video, boom, hit the algorithm. I deem the Ultra Bear, like, in the next 3 years, you've got 18 sets. I think at the end of that, even though there's a little uptick, to me it reads like a year's worth of product is sitting there at distro. Maybe not 10 sets, maybe 5, 6, 7 sets. Hey, distro, I'd like a pallet of this, half a pallet of that, 20 cases of this. Some people hear 5%. Oh, Dan thinks it's impossible. He said 5%. Like 5%, those things happen every day. Those things happen, like 5% chances happen roughly 1 in 20 times, right?
I think I gravitate toward the Ultra Bear because, when I said before that I feel like the demographic is different, that all the people that came into 2020 looking to make money and then left, now they're back. And then you have more people, in my opinion, than ever coming in because it is a money maker and not necessarily because they love Pokemon or view this as a hobby or have a collection or those types of things. So I was thinking more along the lines of, okay, if we have more of those people than ever, and like you said, something happens with the overall markets, something happens with, and those people leave, that's the money leaving the hobby. Like that's the
And
people spending an insane amount of money right now on crazy high-end cards or pallets of this and whatever. That's all those people leaving again. And that is kind of the crater or the hole left because of all of those people doing it not because they actually want to be here for 10, 15, 20 years, but they'll be here for that long if it continues to make them money. And if it doesn't, then they're going to leave a crater for all of us to kind of pick up the pieces of. That was my thinking of Ultra Bear case, is like, if those people leave in a hurry because the money's not there anymore, it's going to look dark.
And just to further like give some more of my take on the Ultra Bear, in that Ultra Bear case, like there are scenarios where in the coming 3 years, this is getting way beyond Ultra Bear. Sword and Shield boxes could go back below 300, 200 MSR. Like, I don't think they're going to. That is far beyond. So in my Ultra Bear scenario that I'm talking about, where there's a year's worth of product available under MSRP, under 100, even in those scenarios, SV1 through SV5 are probably not going back down under 200, under MSRP. In those scenarios, your Sword Shield, they might give back 30, 40% or something like that, but they're not going like under MSRP. In the real darkest of dark scenarios, Pokemon could cease to be printing product in 5 years, and they could cease to be a part of the broader zeitgeist in 10 years or something. Like we can't physically wrap our brains around it because we're so intertwined in it, but like it could happen. I hope it doesn't. I don't think it will. I would give way less than a 1% chance of that happening.
So there's a couple more things in this ultra bear scenario that I wrote some notes down because I wanted to bring them up because they're just thoughts I had. Another thing that scares me about the current market is how easily manipulated it is. I don't remember in 2020 particular cards. Now I could be wrong. You could have examples, but particular cards that lack all fundamentals, seeing price spikes overnight because of memes or whatever associated to them, like the Booger Mew or the Clobopus or all of this nonsense like, oh, it's the same artist that did the Bubble Mew, therefore it needs to now be a $50 illustration rare when there's no other reason why. It's a Solosis. Like, what are we talking about? Like, that type of stuff just feels almost like crypto-y, almost like a meme coin or whatever, and not like a real, like a way for people to pump stuff, manufacture this hype around something for no reason. The 666 on the Seismitoad, and it's still a $200 card today. It doesn't make any, like, that stuff just doesn't make any sense to me. There's no logic there. It makes no sense. It's completely manufactured by social media and whatever. I don't remember those types of scenarios with specific cards like that lacked any other fundamental, that type of stuff happening in the last boom. It just, I don't think it existed to this degree, at least.
I don't have a good enough memory to say whether it did or didn't, but I think like the TikTokification of society just makes things like that more likely. And I think they're more like the exceptions. I think the way social media is just so much more in your face, if and when they do happen, way more PokeTubers exist to talk about them. Like, I don't know about you, but like I guess I'm equally as entrenched in the hobby as I was then. 2020 I wasn't yet full-time, but mid 2021 I was full-time, and I've been way too engrossed in Discord and YouTube and Instagram for all of the past 4 years. I think it's a combination of like it's happening a little bit more, but also it's amplified way more too. So it's happening more as part of it, but it's also like it spreads further faster when it happens too.
Sorry to butt in, Editor Java here. I realized when I was watching back through this that I forgot to bring up the number one reason why I think there are more people than ever just in Pokemon right now for the opportunity and not because they love it as a hobby and a property. Before 2020, the idea of Pokemon being an investable item or an investment in general wasn't really much of a widespread idea. It wasn't something that I think a lot of the market was doing. And then after 2020, a lot of the Pokemon investment channels on YouTube started to grow. People saw the spike in values of a lot of sealed product in Pokemon, and all of a sudden this idea of Pokemon being investment became a really popular topic. And for the 5 years in between 2020 and 2025, that idea has only continued to grow. This idea of Pokemon being almost like a stock or an investment portfolio. YouTube channels around the subject are really popular and continue to get popular. Some of the most popular apps that have emerged during that time to track your collection literally look like a stock portfolio. And on top of that, the ideas become pretty mainstream because there are large investing people in the limelight, in the media, also talking about Pokemon and other trading cards, sports cards as investment opportunities. So I think it would be fair to say that as that idea grows in popularity, there's going to be more and more people entering the Pokemon market with that idea in mind, thinking that it is an opportunity for investment, opportunity to make money. I'm going to pay for my kids' college one day with my booster boxes in the closet. And right now, I think a lot of that has contributed to why there are more people in Pokemon as an opportunity to make money than ever before. Sorry for the interruption. Back to the chat with Dan.
I've been live streaming over the past year now, just over a year now. And one thing that can't be understated, and it's definitely factoring in, it's factoring into my lower Ultra Bear and higher Ultra Bull. Mind you, bias, all the things that we gave earlier. It cannot be understated how much institutional money, I think is the term people like to use. GameStop PSA, they are buying a lot of cards for power packs. Fanatics is buying a lot of cards for instant rips. You have your Courtyard, you have your so on, so on, so on. I can't even remember all the names of these digitized vaults where they want to get all the cards in there. They want to sell them, digitally transfer them from you to you to you to you, make a small cut every time that happens. There are, I don't know how many millions or billions of dollars trying to enter the market. Not that billions of dollars are going to come in. The market cap isn't even worth that of like many of the chase cards all put together. But there's a lot of land grabbing going on in the digitized card space that can really propel this to crazy numbers. And I'm not necessarily saying whether it's for the better or worse for the hobby in the long term, because I think there truly is like detrimental effects. If the Ultra Bull happens, what happens after that 3-year period could be dark. It could be all fun and it could be all amazing, line go up, everyone's rich, and then it could be dark times if it goes too high for too long. I think it's more healthy for some semblance of like number 2 to happen. You're gonna have certain things that go up and stay more flat and don't really see that drop quite as hard. And just like 2020, certain cards, the PSA 10, Jungle, Eevee, and Pikachu's, they dropped 90-something%. And then other cards dropped only 80%. And other cards dropped only 10 or 20%. And then certain cards never dropped once. Certain cards were flat and slightly up through the whole 2020 thing. Again, there's a very wide variety of cards and types of products in the space.
You brought up instant rips and some of these Courtyard and Fanatics and stuff, and I wanted to run an idea past you because this is another one of my Ultra Bear takes. I think we are currently in the middle of a junk slab epidemic, but we are not seeing the effects of it yet. I think that slabs have been repackaged and put together like a pack. And I think that people, and I've seen it with the store, so many people bring in slabs that are like, oh, I got it off this mystery thing. Oh, I got it off this mystery thing. Oh, I got it off this mystery thing. And I don't want to buy it because it's a junk slab. I don't buy it. I don't offer on it because it's a CGC 9 flat V of a Pokemon nobody cares about. And they bought it off some mystery thing. I think that's happening more and more and more, like you've already said. More and more people are getting into it. More and more people are trying to grab that stuff. They've basically made slabs into packs, and guess what? 99% of packs are bulk, and they go into the bulk pile, and nobody looks at them ever again, and people just try and give them away or get rid of them. And I think in the future we're gonna see, I mean, we probably already do. If you go to Collecticon, there are probably already bins of super cheap slabs, but I think more and more of these slabs, and I know in 2020 people were saying, oh, the junk slab, blah blah blah, but I think this is different. I think this is different. And you know, you obviously, you have the CGC Fanatics and you have all that stuff, in my opinion, and I have benefited from it. I've used it. I'm not going to criticize it, but I think in my opinion is probably creating some of this junk slab epidemic. So I'm curious what you think. Do you think that in the future the junk slab will actually be a real thing and be an issue?
Yeah, I think I have videos 2, 3, if not 4 years old on my channel talking about junk slabs, and so far I've been wrong in that not many slabs, at least the way sports is. Like sports, you can go to shows and there will be old timers with like shoeboxes and shoeboxes full of $1, $2 cards. Well, a lot of sports athletes retire irrelevant. A lot of them don't win a championship. They don't win an MVP, blah, 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 blah. They get injured. Those all stand true. And even your favorite Pokemon, Bruxish, even the worst Pokemon have a fan somewhere, right? Those are the arguments that people make as to why junk slabs can't and won't ever exist. My counter argument is that 1 million slabs a month is a lot of slabs. And if this continues going the way that it's going, PSA is going to be grading 1.5 million and 2 million slabs a month. And eventually it will catch up. And the one exception that could happen, that could prevent junk slabs from happening anytime soon, is like the attrition. We really don't know how high the attrition is. And honestly, I think it's higher than a lot of us would ever believe. The amount of cards that get bought, one in eBay auctions, they get one from these GameStop power packs, whatever they are, and the card will just never ever be on the market again. Think back to when you were younger. Think back to 2000. If you told little old Java, hey Java, a lot of your cards, a lot of your friends' cards, a lot of those when you go to high school, when you go to college, when you move however many times throughout your adulthood, a lot of those cards are going to end up in the trash and they will never see the light of day. They will never enter the market again. I think a lot of that's happening with those type of slabs. I think a lot of people that came in a flash in 2020 and they bought your Omega mystery packs and they bought your XYZ other thing. A lot of those cards just end up in the trash. They never come back. What matters is like how many of them actually try to re-enter the market. If and when a ton of them do, yes, it's going to be very dark, but I think a lot of them don't. So I guess short answer to that is like junk slabs unequivocally, objectively exist today. They just don't yet have a junk price tag. How long will we as a market get away with that? I don't know, but tune into Whatnot. Tune into, I'm sure there's ones on eBay Live. I'm sure, I don't know if there's one on Fanatics Live doing it the way that some of them do on Whatnot, but it's just slab after slab after slab, sudden death, 3 seconds, and they're going for a significant profit. So the people grading those things, and I'm one, as you said, who grades those things too in mass. As long as we're rewarded, we're gonna keep putting them out there. I think the junk price tag will come with time.
I see the instant rips, and well, maybe not instant rips because well, the thing about these places,
the full checklist on instant rips.
And the thing about most of these places is you can sell it back to the company, right? And then it can go to somebody else. You're just selling at a loss essentially. I guess that could mitigate some of it, but I do think when you're taking slabs, you're making them a mystery, and then you're giving them to somebody. It's just like a pack. You're gonna open it. You're gonna hope for the best. You're 99% of the time you're not gonna get what you want, and then you're gonna try and get rid of it. And at some point, like I am now, not offering on these $5-10 slabs for stuff that I'm not gonna be able to resell. You're not gonna be able to get rid of it. And then, like you said, I guess attrition wise, maybe you throw it in the trash, and then it disappears from the market. I mean, even if you throw it in the trash, junk goes in the trash, right? So I mean, it's still a junk slab.
Yeah. But, literal junk slabs that are in the landfill, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Earth.
It's something that dawned on me the other day when I had like the third or fourth somebody come in and like, hey, I got this off of, and it's the random stuff too, stuff I've never heard of before. Like this guy online, if you Google this, he's doing these mystery slab boxes, and I got one, and I got nothing out of it, and I was hoping I could trade this towards something else. And it's like, I don't want that. Don't give it to me.
And that's again very biased. I sell primarily through Fanatics Live, but one thing I like about what they do is like they have a full checklist. They don't just have, and I'm sorry I'm picking on this because I have one next to me, but like this shows you 5 of the best things that you could get. They don't show you the odds. They don't show you, like, you have no proof that they actually went in there. I think they did because the numbers make sense even with those cards in there. But like one thing Instant Rips will give you, like Pongo went live tonight. I think he had $250 rips, and he had 100 $500 rips, and you can see every card. You can go and you can see high-res front back scans. You can see every card you can possibly get, and if you bought them all and sold them all back, you'd lose 10%. That's if you bought the high-end ones. Some of them have a lower payback than that. It's the transparency level with the physical vault ones, with the digitized ones is crazy. And at least so far, I think the lowest instant rip we've done is 50. So some of the floors in that are, some of the bases they call them in that are pretty low end. Maybe they're $20, $25 slabs that in a bear type scenario, I could see those things being $5 or less than $5. Once you get to $5, it's like you can't even ship it and make money, right? Because shipping on a bubble envelope is $4.90 or. Please, if you're out there, sorry Earth for all of what we're doing in this hobby, but if you're going to bring your slab to the landfill, please crack it open, throw the cardboard into the recycling, throw the plastic into the recycling, help save the planet. Do your part.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely some surprises tonight. I did not expect you to have a higher percentage for Ultra Bull versus Ultra Bear. That was that was fun. I expected, it's called the fence sitter for a reason. I expected.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most boring outcome will be the most likely one. Yes.
Yeah. That's probably true. But yeah, I don't know. I know there's going to be probably quite a few people in the comments that are like, why would you think it's ultra bear when you own a store? And, why would you open a store if you're so bearish on the market and all this stuff? And it's like, yeah, true. Maybe I'll make a video about that.
Remind me your number for those doing the math at home. I 29% you did
70.
on the middle. Okay, 70. Oh, that's right. 1%, 29%, 70.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what you put on the Ultra Bow, but now I remember. Yeah.
So yeah, I think if the right people leave, which I think if there is a significant negative impact on markets or on prices start going down in Pokemon, I think the right people will leave because there won't be the opportunity anymore, and it's going to leave a very large hole. And
I would be fascinated to watch the content because I have it on good authority that there's at least a large handful of people with 7-figure capital at their disposal. I'm interested to see if they truly do buy it all.
Yeah, they
In
should
that
post
70% likelihood
all
that
their
the ultra rare
videos right
happens.
when that happens. I'm
Yeah.
buying everything, sell to me. Dan, I appreciate you coming on and predicting the future with me. Hopefully Dan is right and I'm wrong. I think we both understand that the Ultra Bowl is probably a pretty slim case. Let us know in the comments, like Dan said. Maybe I'll throw a poll down there on which one you think is most likely to happen. I appreciate you being here, Dan. Anything? Could you tell the people how they can support your endeavors?
Yeah, I'm catching all collectibles everywhere, primarily selling on Fanatics Live, but also on eBay Live over there. As Java said, if you're here and you haven't yet, like, sub, all that good stuff, definitely let your voice be heard down in the comments or in the poll. Let us know what you think. And thanks Java for having me on. It was a good chat as always.